Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I am going to cover our module 13, which is ICMP protocol. We are going to discuss about both the versions of ICMP, which is IPMP version 4 and version 6. So let's get going. ICMP stands for Internet Control Message Protocol. It is basically an error reporting protocol which conveys information about the processing of IP packets. Now, these are the two things that we are going to discuss in this particular module. The first one is what are the different types of ICMP messages and what are the ping and traceroute testing, how we can actually use these two tools in order to check the connectivity. Let me go to the first part, which talks about the ICMP messages part. So in these particular ICMP messages, as I told you, this protocol is primarily designed to provide feedback about issues related to the processing of IP packets under some certain conditions. Like IP, there are two versions of ICMP again. One of it is called as ICMP version 4 and the other one is ICMP version 6. So ICMP version 4 works with IPv4, whereas ICMP version 6 works with IP version 6. There are some messages which are common to both these versions, both version 4 and version 6. There are three messages which are common. The first message is your host reachability message. The second one is your destination or service unreachable messages. And the third category are the time exceeded messages. So in most of the cases, because of the network administrators security concerns, ICMP version 4 messages are not allowed within the network. So sometimes you might not be able to use some of the features. So let me show you, or let us talk about these three types of messages that are common to both version 4 and version 6. So first, let's talk about the host reachability message. Now, ICMP echo request and echo reply there are two messages usually. So these messages are actually used to test the reachability of a host on an IP network. What happens here is a local host sends an ICMP echo request to a host. So once the host receives this particular echo message, it is expected to send an echo reply back. So once you get the echo reply, automatically you know that the host is actually reachable through the network. And in case if you do not get a reply, then you have to understand that there is some type of issue. It might be anything. There are different issues which can cause the a message to timeout. So you have to understand that there are some issues regarding this. Usually, once you send an echo request message from the host, the destination immediately responds with an echo reply message. And these are the different types of the destination or service unreachable messages. So an ICMP destination unreachable message can be used to notify the source that a destination or a service is unreachable. These messages usually include a code so that the receiver can identify why the packet would not be delivered. Though these codes look similar, there are some differences between version 4 and version 6 of ICMP. If you see here, the codes of ICMP v4 are 0, 1, 2, 3, which respectively stands for network unreachable, host unreachable, protocol unreachable, and port unreachable. Whereas for your ICMP version 6, slight modifications are there. Once again, 0 stands for no route to the destination. 1 stands for there is some issues with the firewall or there are some network policies that are blocking the message. 2 is which is beyond the scope of the source address. The third is address unreachable. And the fourth one is port unreachable messages. So these are the messages which are used to carry information about why the packet could not be delivered. Whereas the third one is your time exceeded messages category. So here, usually everyone knows that in the IP packet header, we have a field called as a TTL field, time to live field. The same type of field, though it's not named TTL, we have something called as a hop limit in the IP version 6 header. We discussed this in your earlier modules. Now, if at all a packet's TTL field comes to 0 or even the hop limit decrements to the point of 0, a time exceeded message is sent back to the host or the source indicating that this has happened. You might ask me why we need a TTL field. Because we don't want the packets to live for an eternity in the network, we usually set the TTL counter to the maximum number of hops that it might take to reach a destination within a network. So for each and every hop the packet takes, this TTL field is decremented by 1. Now, if it reaches the particular destination before the TTL field is decremented to 0, all is good. But for any reason, if the packet keeps on bouncing and for each and every hop, this counter is decremented to 0 at any point, automatically this packet will be discarded. Now, once this happens because of the TTL field or the hop limit field comes to 0, this information needs to be passed on back to the source. So that is actually done through the time exceeded messages. So these messages do have another utility also. These messages are actually used by your trace route tool, which we will discuss towards the end of this video. Now, coming to the ICMP version 6 messages, these ICMP version 6, just like IPv6, are a little bit advanced and they are designed keeping the new things in mind. So there are many new features that have been added and improved functionality, which is actually not found in version 4. This improved functionality comes in the part of in the name of something called as Network Discovery Protocol, or Neighbor Discovery Protocol, or NDP. Now in this NDP, there are 4 messages. These 4 messages are your router solicitation message, router advertisement message, neighbor solicitation message, and neighbor advertisement message. The first thing, your RS and RA messages are actually exchanged between an IPv6 router and an IPv6 enabled device. We will discuss what is the functionality of these messages, and the other 2 messages, which are your NS and NA messages, they are actually exchanged between the IPv6 devices. These messages also do include your DAD, which stands for duplicate address detection, and also the address resolution as well. You please remember that ARP is not found in IPv6. ARP is actually included in these messages itself. Let me show you how it is done. RA messages are actually sent by the IPv6 enabled routers every 200 messages to provide addressing information to the host. So RA stands for router advertisement. The name itself tells you that this advertisement is actually sent out by the router periodically to inform everybody about the parameters. Now, what type of parameters does that include? It can have a lot of information, such as the prefix, what is the network prefix, what is the prefix length, what are the DNS addresses, what is the domain name. Now, remember in our earlier modules, we studied about dynamic address allocation of IPv6, where we use the SLAAC protocol, stateless address auto configuration protocol. Now, for this SLAAC to be done, or for a host to dynamically create its own GUA, these particular RA messages play a very crucial role. And also in these RA messages only, the router can inform the host about its default gateway as well. So an IPv6 enabled router will also send out an RA message in response to an RS message. RS stands for router solicitation. Basically speaking, when a PC first boots up, it will send out an router solicitation message asking for a particular or looking for a particular IPv6 router on the network. It says that, hey guys, I just booted up. Can you please tell me if there is an IPv6 router present here? If so, please send me information so that I can create my IPv6 address. This is nothing but a router solicitation message. Once a router receives this, it can send an router advertisement message as a reply back. So this reply message, what it will have is, it will send that, okay, fine, I am the IPv6 router for this particular network. So please use SLAAC. These are the parameters that you need to create your own address. Please do that. And also, please use my link local address as your default gateway. All these parameters are actually sent by your RA message. So this RA message, once it is received by the host, it can create its own particular GUA dynamically. It can create all those parameters. It can create its own address from these parameters. So a device assigned a global IPv6 unicast or link local unicast address sometimes need to perform the duplicate address detection also. It has to make sure that when you create a dynamic address, no other host does have the same address on the link. So to check this uniqueness, what it will do is the device will send a network message, that is nothing but neighbor solicitation message, NS message, on the network with its own IPv6 address as the targeted IPv6 address. What happens here is basically this host is saying that this is my address, hey everybody. So if there is any other device which has the same IPv6 address immediately responds with an NA message saying that I already took that, so you can't have it. This is how you actually perform the duplicate address detection. You want to make sure that each and every host will have a unique IPv6 address. Now, the next thing or the next message is how do you use network solicitation and the network advertisement message for your address resolution also. We studied this in our module 6 where we discussed about the usage of these two messages to perform the address resolution just like ARP does for your IPv4 protocol. Now, in order to determine the MAC address for the destination, what the device does is it will send out an NS message to the solicited node address, whatever it wants. And this message will actually contain the IPv6 address of the destination or for the target to whom we want to learn the MAC address of. Once this particular host receives this particular message, it responds with a NA message, neighbor advertisement message. In this neighbor advertisement message, it says that, okay, fine, I am here and this is my MAC address. In this way, two devices can talk to one another and actually can find out and can perform the address resolution where you get the MAC address from the or for the desired IPv6 address. Let's go to the next part of our particular module where how to use the ping and the traceroute utilities. What type of functionality can we do here? Now, the first thing here is your ping command is an IPv4 and IPv6 testing utility that uses the ICMP echo request and echo reply messages. Why do we need these messages? Because we want to test the connectivity between hosts and provide a summary for this test, which includes the success rate and average round trip time to the destination. So if I use a ping message, to test whether a destination is alive or not, or whether it is reachable or not, we not only get the summary just saying that it is there, but we also get what is the round trip time usually it takes and what is the success rate also. Now, if the reply is not received, it will say that there is no response, request timed out. That means within the given TTL field, you did not get the response back. In some cases, when you are sending it out, because whatever might happen, either ARP or ND protocol is not happen for the first time, you might not get a successful ping for the very first time. It may take one or two exchange of messages for the ping to come back as successful. Basically, ping uses your echo requests, and echo replies. Now, if you see here, this is one of the most common pings that you see. Now, if you type in, you know that one special type of IPv4 address is the loopback address, which we generally use 127.0.0.1. Now, on the command prompt, if we simply type in ping 127.0.0.1, what it does is it is going to ping yourself. So in simpler terms, it is going to check whether the TCP IP protocol suite has been implemented properly on your host or not. In simpler terms, if your machine is working properly or not, whether TCP IP is operational on your machine or not. That's what we do. This is called as ping the loopback address. We simply type in ping 127.0.0.1. This is the ping the loopback. The next common practice is to ping the default gateway. All of you are aware that whenever you have something on the network, whenever there are multiple hosts that are connected on the network, if they want to go send a message or if they want to communicate outside the network, you need to have the default gateway. Usually, the default gateway is the IP address assigned to the interface of the router, which connects to this particular, which is directly connected to this particular network. When you send a ping to this particular default gateway, when it is successful, you come to know that the default gateway is operational and also the router is operational. And if in any case, if you do not receive a successful ping back, we would like to check with other hosts on the same network, which you know they are functional, they are operational. This is how you actually ping the default gateway to check whether within your network everything is operational or not. You can also use the ping command to check connectivity to the remote host also. That means if you want to send a particular message to a particular server which belongs to a completely different network, you can do that as well. It works on the simple terms again. So if you send a ping to a remote host and if you receive a successful ping back, it simply confirms that your network is having the capability of communicating through the internet or going out of this network. Inter-network communication can take place. But as I said, not all the network administrators allow ICMP version 4 messages to traverse the network. So sometimes, even though ping does not happen or ping is not successful, it doesn't mean that it's not working, as your network administrator might have disabled the ping messages entering into the network. There is a reason to that. So let us discuss about the next utility, something called as traceroute. We usually type in traceroute. So traceroute is a utility which is used to test the path between two hosts and also provides the list of hops that have been successfully or that have been as a part of the path between these two particular hosts. So this provides the round trip time for each hop along the path and indicates if a hop fails to respond. An asterisk is used to indicate a lost or an unreplied packet. Now, this information is used to locate a problematic router in the path or may indicate that the router is configured not to reply. So, what is the main difference is ping actually tells you if your destination is reachable or not. Traceroute will tell you if it is reachable, what are the different hops or what are the different routers that are in or that are placed on the path from the source to destination. And in case if there is any issue with one particular router on the path, it will tell you which particular router is having an issue, so that you can actually troubleshoot the point where the packets are being blocked. So how this traceroute works? It's pretty simple. It actually uses the time exceeded messages of your ping message of your IPv4. So the first message from the traceroute will have a TTL field value of 1. Now, once this message goes out of your system and it reaches the router, this router responds with an time exceeded message because the TTL field will be decremented to 0. Now, once it gets back, what the host will do is it will actually increment the TTL counter to 2 and it will send on. Now, in this particular, if you can see in this particular figure also, that the first message is with the TTL1 is sent out, and when it gets back, the ICMP time exceeded message, I will know that the first hop on this path from the source to destination is this router. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increment the TTL counter to 2 and I'll send the packet again. Now, after reaching the next router, once again my TTL field goes to 0. So I will now receive an ICMP time exceeded message from this router. So I will know that this is the first router on the path and this is the second router on the path. Similarly, I keep on incrementing the TTL field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till I reach my destination. So at each and every time it reaches a new host or a new hop on the path, the TTL counter decrements, and if it reaches 0, I get the ICMP time exceeded message. So I'll have that information. Now, how much can you keep on incrementing the TTL field? Usually it will be a predefined maximum. Once again, it takes into common sense that the size of the network, the maximum number of hops that you might travel to reach the destination. Now, this is a very small module. We have come to the end of the module. Let me just give a quick summary of what we studied in this particular module. The purpose of ICMP messages is to provide feedback about issues related to IP packet processing under certain conditions. For whatever issues, if your IP packet is not being delivered, the source needs to know why it is not being delivered. For that particular purpose, ICMP messages are being used. There are some ICMP messages which are common to both ICMP version 4 and ICMP version 6. Those messages are host reachability, destination or service unreachable, and time exceeded messages. And in case of IPMPv6, we have a new protocol called as NDP protocol, Neighbor Discovery Protocol, which includes 4 different types of protocols. And the message between an IPv6 router and an IPv6 device, including the dynamic address allocation, involves your router solicitation and router advertisement messages. Whereas messages between the IPv6 devices include the redirect, neighbor solicitation, and neighbor advertisement messages. Ping uses the ICMP echo request and echo reply messages to test the connectivity between hosts. Ping can be used to test the internal configuration of IPv4 or IPv6 on the local host. That is to say, you can simply ping the loopback addresses. And finally, traceroute generates a list of hops that were successfully reached along the path to the destination. So hope you understood this, and I'll come back with the next module video where we are going to cover the transport layer, which is one of the most complex protocols, which hosts the most complex protocols, your TCP in it. So thank you and good luck.